Hello and welcome to my Devlog series. I'm Felix, and for the last month I kept on working on my game. I made some major changes, not just to the game but also to how I do these videos. I want to show you more of the process. That is why I've recorded clips while I was working on the game, talking about what I'm doing and thinking at the time. And with that, let's jump back 1 month. Okay, and here we are. And first topic this week is a lot of changes to how I build my scenes and how I structure them. So up until now, my scenes basically consist of just 2 top level objects. One global script object, which is a prefab. And this one basically contains everything that is important, like cameras, all of the UI and the player. This object just gets put into every scene and that's it. And then every scene has their own map with the actual tile map and some attached objects like trees and flowers and bushes. So now I'm gonna change all of that because this prefab has gotten huge and it contains so many different things, and I don't need all of those things on every scene, and it's just getting very easy to make big mistakes that cause some weird bugs and errors. So it's time to really change how I'm going about that, and I've started already doing that. And I'm using this scene here to test because it basically contains no objects apart from the bed. And right now I've also got a very tight coupling between objects and UI, at least in several cases. So basically everything is broken right now. But what I've done is that I've split this huge prefab object into one small prefab object that just contains a camera and the player, basically, and 2 additional scenes that get loaded in. So the UI and some general persistent scripts, such as the script that controls the flow of time, they all got their own scenes. So I've got a scene here just for game UI, where here it is, which currently it only displays the current date and time, just for testing. I haven't got further, but this scene just gets loaded on top of whatever other scene you're in, and contains all of the standard game UI. Then I've got another scene for persistent data scripts, which right now is only the time script, but this is also where like in player inventory would belong, for example. And this also gets loaded on top and ideally probably never gets unloaded while you're playing. While in contrast, the game UI scene might get unloaded because you're visiting some scene where you've got custom UI, such as, for example, the menu that pops up whenever you change from one day to the next. So I'm gonna just quickly show you the basics are working. So this UI loader just has a script attached that additively loads the game UI scene on top, and that's it. Gonna quickly test it, and as you can see, it's working. It's basically the only thing working because I can't move my character, nothing can be interacted with, everything is broken, so I've got a lot to fix. Okay, time for a quick little update. I still can move my character, but instead I can do this. That's nice, isn't it? So I've been getting into animating UI using a technique called tweening, which is basically interpolating towards a key point. And I'm doing it all in code using the library leantween, which is a great free tool for Unity. And now I can independently animate my UI components, and I really like the result. So this animation is probably still a little bit slow because if you're gonna repeatedly open your inventory during gameplay, this just feels too slow. I'm gonna have to speed it up, but still, I really like the effect, and it just makes the game feel a lot more alive and a lot more juicy. It just feels good. So right now I'm just gonna have to add all of the actual menu stuff like inventory slots, etc. And then I'm gonna be back. So see you then. So it's quite a few days later by now, and I haven't had too much time to work on the game, but I still got some work in. As you can probably tell right away, I have zoomed out the camera a bit because I just needed more pixels to work with for the user interface. I'm trying to keep a consistent pixel size all throughout the game. So every pixel here in this font or in the cursor and in the environment, they're all the same size. And I just think that gives the game a much more pleasing look. But this also means that I'm constrained by my smallest pixel size because my smallest font I can possibly use is 1 pixel big in its lines. And previously that was just too large to work with. And right now it's a lot better. Down in the center you can see that I also did some work on the hotbar. The inventory in general is now 1 slot wider, expanded from 5 to 6 slots. And now I also animated the hotbar and redid pretty much all of the code. So I think that is already quite an improvement. And then I also redid a lot of the inventory code. Everything should be back to working as normal. And it also can now generate the slots based on just inventory size. So in the future, I can easily experiment with other inventory sizes. Up top, you can see that I also implemented a little watch into the menu screen because I think it's quite useful for the player to be able to see the time, especially because most menus will not pause time. But if they do pause time, I'm also planning to indicate that up here in the future. So right now, the UI still feels quite incomplete. For me, this inventory screen looks still a bit empty. So I'm gonna continue to work on that and see what I can come up with. See you once I've got something. Okay, so I got a little bit sidetracked and I worked on tooltips. The tooltips I had before were not really holding up anymore, so I reworked how they look, the styling. I changed some more about the font, and I think this is quite okay right now. I'm still having trouble with the small font, but I have worked on it for hours upon hours now, more like dozens of hours, and at this point I think it's okay, and I just gotta do something else for a while and maybe come back to it later if I feel the need to change it more. Okay, so I only had a minor mental breakdown over the UI design, and I experimented a lot over the past few days, and this is what I'm at right now, and probably what I'm most happy with, because I really want to retain this kind of futuristic floating AI look, so I don't want to have some sort of background panel right here. I just want the UI to float in space. And this also looks more in line than with the floating head-up UI in the main game screen. And just ignore this here. It's currently basically everything is broken, but here you can get like an idea of how it could look, and I do like this, I think. So yeah, what I got to do right now is completely bring everything up to this style and see if I still like it. I hope I do, because I really can't change it all again. I really should not have said that. Of course I changed it all again. I just could not get the rotated item slots to work with all of the other very geometrical UI elements. So in the spirit of simplicity, I just decided to redesign the item slots again to make them more geometrical. In the background you can see some comparison footage to the original UI that you know from the last videos. Apart from all the UI changes, I also made a lot of changes to the programming of the game. The big changes in scene structure I showed in the beginning required some of these changes, and then I went a step further. In general, I tried to decouple the different systems the game is made up of from each other. There is one system I want to highlight here: timekeeping. A lot of game objects rely on in-game time, and because of that they constantly query the time script for the current time. That of course means that they have to somehow find that time script, and also most of these game objects only need to update once every few in-game minutes or even just once a day. This is inefficient and also leads to code duplication, because every object has to have code that checks if a new day has started or a certain time has come. I improved my previous spaghetti code by turning the time script into a singleton that offers timed function calls. For example, every hour or every day. To do that, I used C# actions. I previously did not know about them, and they are a lifesaver. In simple terms, they are a bundle of functions with the same arguments that can all be called at once. Here you can see the ones that I currently have for timed behavior. A script that wants to subscribe to any of these can simply add one of their functions to an action. Bonus points if you can guess the role of the script that this is from in the comments. The script then simply calls all of the functions attached to an action at the correct time, like this. And with that, we're already at the end of this devlog. I have not yet decided what to do for the next one, but the next big milestone still is to achieve a playable state. If you like what I'm doing, please subscribe and tell me what you think of my game. I'm Felix, and I'll be back soon with another video. Bye bye.